Everyone has their own idea of what the best Beatles album is, and no two lists ever look the same, but today I'm sharing mine, and I'll warn you now, it's probably going to ruffle a lot of feathers. This is my controversial Beatles album ranking video, so let's work our way up from the bottom to the tippity top. And at number 13 we have Yellow Submarine. Well, what is there to say about Yellow Submarine really? It's not a proper album as such. Not in my eyes anyway, but it is counted as an official Beatles album, so I've got to include it here of course. I'm not really interested in the George Martin score stuff myself, although I would recommend checking out his Live and Let Die score. He didn't just produce the Paul McCartney theme tune, he actually composed the whole score to that film, so that's worth checking out. But this stuff, not so much. So then there's the first half of the album, which has 2 songs that have already been released. Then the only other 2 songs that are really worth it are It's All Too Much, which is a banger, and the fantastic Hey Bulldog. But only having 2 great songs on this album makes Yellow Submarine sink to the bottom. And my choice for number 12 is With the Beatles. As with Please Please Me, this album is littered with cover versions that I don't really care for. Some great original songs again, but it doesn't quite have the immediate charm of the Beatles' debut. But it does have a better title and cover combination, making the album package a slightly classier affair. The singles are the major standouts on this, but I also love Don't Bother Me and I Wanna Be Your Man. And this is the moment in the video where lots of people turn off in disgust. My choice for number 11 is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Yes, I sense you all seething and reaching for your keyboards right now. And I do understand why, but I'll try and explain why it's so low. So this album ranking for me isn't about any kind of cultural impact or what was going on in the Beatles' lives, or if it was the first thing that had ever been done, or anything like that. This is just about my enjoyment of the songs, and for me, Sgt. Pepper just lacks in the song department. The production is amazing, of course, but as someone who's probably more into the songwriting aspect of music, this album just falls pretty flat for me, really. To me, this feels like a tired band being forced to be creative. The concept doesn't really work, and it doesn't have the tunes to justify the poor execution of the concept. There are so many tracks on here that I just don't care for in any way, except for a few notable exceptions. And those are I Get By With a Little Help From My Friends, Getting Better, When I'm 64, and A Day in the Life. And the title track is decent too, but the rest of it I just can't get on board with. Sorry everyone, don't hate me. Okay, let's quickly move on to the next one. Actually, I will just say that I did struggle with the placement of this, but not whether I should put it higher, but whether I should put it below With the Beatles. That's how much I really don't like it. Okay, let's move on now. Okay, my choice for number 10 is Beatles for Sale. Unfortunately, we're back with a bunch of covers on this album, but the originals are mostly great. The first half of the album is strong, and the second half feels like a lot of filler. Really not too much to say about this album. It's a bit like the first 2 albums. But some personal favourites on here are No Reply, I'm a Loser, Babies in Black, I'll Follow the Sun, and I'll throw in Honey Don't because I love a bit of Ringo. Not too keen on the cover or the name of this album though. Could have put a bit more work into that, lads. And the album I've put at number 9 is the Beatles' debut album, Please Please Me. This is an enjoyable listen with some all-time classics on there, its high points being the original songs which outshine the covers by miles. And it's the cover versions that drop this album a bit in my rankings. They're mostly fine and occasionally brilliant, but I could live without most of them. Standout tracks are the singles, and Twist and Shout is just undeniable, despite what I just said about the cover versions. Also, I think Please Please Me was a shit name for that album, but the cover photo is cool and iconic. Okay, on to number 8, which is A Hard Day's Night. The Beatles shifted up a few gears for this, their third album. It's as close to perfection as the early era Beatles got, in my opinion. The album is mostly flawless, but not quite. Sorry, I'm Happy Just to Dance With You. You would have fitted on one of the first 2 albums well and made them better, but you dragged this one down a bit. Amazing title and brilliant cover in this package, and standout tunes for me aren't necessarily the singles on this one. I love Tell Me Why, Anytime at All, Things We Said Today, and If I Fell is just beautiful. Also, this album, like a few others, gets extra points for the fact that no song reaches the 3-minute point. Okay, the album that I've chosen for place number 7 is Help. Help is another one with a strong first half, but it fades off a bit in the second. There's some interesting instruments popping up in some songs that give the band's sound a bit of a lift from previous offerings. And you get the double whammy of I've Just Seen a Face and Yesterday at the end of the album that I think solidified McCartney as an actual musical genius. Some other notable tracks on here are Help, The Night Before, You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, and Ticket to Ride. One final note, I always think that Act Naturally should end side 1 and Ticket to Ride should start side 2, but that's just something that bugs me and is a bit too late to be worrying about now. And we're up to number 6 now. This might be another controversial choice because people might think it's too high, and that is Let It Be. I think Let It Be gets a bad rap. Yes, it doesn't have the usual quality of Beatles production and George Martin magic dust, but most of the songs still stand up well to that shortcoming and is a pretty excellent collection of well-written tunes. And besides, I quite like the rawness of the recordings. Some of my favourites on here are Two of Us, I Me Mine, I've Got a Feeling, One After 909, and Get Back. The cover and the album title are shit though. It should have stayed as Get Back. Okay, we're into my top 5 now, and the album at number 5 is Magical Mystery Tour. This is an odd one in that it's half an EP plus some singles, but fuck me, it adds up to one hell of a bastard album. And because I'm just judging each album as they come, regardless of any history or anything like that, I rate this package of songs as one of the best the Beatles ever put out, even if it was just a decision made by their US label Capitol Records without the Beatles' support. It's one of those rare instances where the executives made a sound money-making move that ended up being positive for the band and the fans too, because we have a great album to listen to now. But it does just feel like a collection of songs rather than an album, otherwise it might be in my top 2. My personal favourites on here are Fool on the Hill, Your Mother Should Know, I Am the Walrus, Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, and All You Need Is Love, but they're all good. And the album that I've placed at number 4 is Rubber Soul. This is the album where the Beatles transitioned into something different, coalescing standout sounds and ideas from previous albums into a coherent whole here. It slaps all the way through, as the kids say. Top tier Beatles. I've never been much of a fan of the cover, to be honest, but Rubber Soul is a great title. My standout tracks on this are... oh god, well there's a lot, so buckle up. There's Drive My Car, Norwegian Wood, You Won't See Me, Nowhere Man, Think For Yourself, The Word, Michelle, What Goes On, Girl, I'm Looking Through You, In My Life, and If I Needed Someone. Almost all of them. I may as well have just named them all, apart from Run For Your Life. And I think if it wasn't tagged on at the end here, it would be a better album. Not because of its content or anything, which is harsh to say the least, but it feels like it fits on an earlier album. It's a little step backwards on a forward-thinking record. Okay, top 3 time, and the album I've put at number 3 is Revolver. To me, Revolver is like Rubber Soul's older brother, a bit more sophisticated sonically, a bit more world-weary and introspective, and a bit wiser. By now the Beatles had a bit more knowledge of how to realise their ideas, and although Revolver just steps ahead of Rubber Soul because of these things, I think the songwriting on both is about equal, so it was hard to choose between Revolver and Rubber Soul for the 3rd position here. My favourite tracks on this album are Here, There and Everywhere, Taxman, Eleanor Rigby, And Your Bird Can Sing, For No One, and Tomorrow Never Knows, mostly for Ringo's drumming. And I don't have any sarcastic comments about Yellow Submarine. It's fine. I like it. Okay, we're up to our last two albums, and the album I've placed at number 2 is Abbey Road. Honestly, I'm not too sure what to say about Abbey Road because it feels like it's probably the most talked about Beatles album after Sgt. Pepper, and I agree with most of what's said about it. I think my most controversial opinion is that I actually quite like Maxwell's Silver Hammer. It's just a bit overlong, even though it's only 3.5 minutes, but 2 minutes would have been fine, Paul. It's actually the exact same length as the track that comes after it, Oh Darling, which always feels too short in comparison. My personal favourites on this are Come Together, Oh Darling, Here Comes the Sun, Because, and the whole end medley of songs, of course. It's an amazing last statement before they split. And here we are at the number 1 spot. At number 1, my favourite Beatles album is, of course, The Beatles. And the actual title of the album kind of explains why I like it so much. I think it sums up everything the Beatles had done to that point and takes it to another level. We really hear them flying free on this one. It goes from being painfully understated at times to being sweet or sarcastically experimental or ear-bleedingly heavy, and the songs remain of a high quality despite the length of the album. And I don't mind the ones people hate, like Wild Honey Pie. I just see that as a little interlude, really, not something that everyone should think is a work of genius. It's just a little mess about, really. But anyway, those sorts of songs don't spoil my enjoyment of the whole. Even Revolution number 9, which I will occasionally not skip, and the list of personal favourites on the White Album, as it's better known, is very long, so again, bear with me. There's Back in the USSR, Dear Prudence, Glass Onion, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Happiness is a Warm Gun, Martha My Dear, I'm So Tired, Blackbird, Don't Pass Me By, I Will, Julia, Year Blues, Mother Nature's Son, Helter Skelter, Revolution number 1, and I'll end with Good Night because it's just so adorable. And it was also one of the Beatles albums that I listened to most when I was a teenager, probably because it had so many songs on it and so much versatility and range. It was great value and endlessly fascinating in ways that Sgt. Pepper tried and failed to be, in my opinion. So yeah, I really don't like Sgt. Pepper. But anyway, that's it. That's my Beatles rankings. So feel free to let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm sure some of you have already been raging down there before the video even ended, but that's okay. All opinions are welcome. Let me know your rankings. I'll be interested to see any of them. And I'll probably do a Beatles film rankings video next, I think. So until then, everyone take care of yourselves. Goodbye and peace.